So in this video, I'm going to take you through the information regarding the end of year exams that are going to be coming up. And I always like to start these types of videos with a quote from John Wooden. And John Wooden said that the success comes from knowing that you did your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. And I think in that situation, we're all capable of being successful and giving our best to the preparations that we need to do. The exam video that I'm going to go through is going to talk to you about a couple of different things. We're going to talk to you about the exam timetable, arrangements during the exams, and how to prepare to do your best in the exam. Okay, so here you can see a copy of your exam timetable for the Year 9 exams that we've got coming up. Let me just highlight a couple of things for you. So you can see the dates when the exams are due to take place. Here it tells you it's English on the 28th. And it's a 1 hour paper taking place in the main hall, and then there's no other exams that day. Tuesday the 29th, we've got history. Notice here we've got the option codes as well, so please check your option group to know when your exam actually is. These are timetables to take place in your lesson time, and that's going to be in the classroom for you. And you can see here's a geography exam for the group as well. So hopefully that leads you clearly through there. Please check it all, make sure you know when exams are. Share this with your family. You get a paper copy given to you, so stick it somewhere in your house. Fridge is often a good place so everybody can see it, and then everybody knows the key dates that you're working towards for your exams. So what do you need to do now? Well, to help you get yourself organised, you should talk to your subject teachers, your class teachers, get a list of topics that will be covered in the exam so you know what you've got to revise for and prepare for. Your teacher should also give you some resources and material to help you with your learning in the preparation for exams. And they'll talk to you about the best way to revise and get ready to do your best and be successful in the exam. It's also worth checking that you've got the right equipment for the exams. Sometimes you need specialist bits of kit. For example, in any maths exam or science exam, you could need a calculator. So make sure you have a calculator that you're familiar with using, you know how it works, you're confident with it. You'll need pens, pencils, and rulers. And also to carry that equipment into the exam hall with you, you will need a clear pencil case as well. During the exams, a couple of things to talk to you about. So it's really important that we get a good routine established here. So to help us get this organised, you will go to your normal timetable lesson initially to register. Your teacher will then complete a very quick register with you, and then they'll bring you down to the main hall where we're going to get you organised to go into the exam room. Your belongings should be left in the classroom, and they could be collected at the end of the exam. So at the end, you'll go back up to your room, collect your bits and pieces. For students in year 9 and 10, please note that some situations the exam is actually longer than an hour. So in that, you need to take your belongings to your locker, but we remind you of those arrangements as we get nearer to the actual exams. In the exam hall, it's really important that we maintain conditions that are going to be in line with the way we would run a GCSE exam in the future to get you ready for that. So electronic devices, mobile phones, headphones, those smartwatches, iWatches, Apple Watches should not be taken at all into the exam hall. They need to be turned off and handed in to a member of staff before you go in to the exam hall. Exam conditions start as soon as you go into the exam hall. So we'll actually start that in the dining room. So in the dining room, we'll get everyone together. All students are expected in there to sit in silence to help us organise the beginning of the exam, and then go through into the exam hall, taking those conditions in with us, so we go in without communicating in any way to each other, and we allow ourselves to get ready to perform at our best. Once you're in the exam hall, you need to read through the instructions on the front of your exam paper. This will make sure you know what you've got to do during the exam, and we will then take you through those instructions just to check everyone is happy and answer any questions should there be any. You need to write your name on the top of any paper and your class, and sometimes your teacher's name as well, so we can make sure the paper ends up, once it's completed, with the right person. If at any point during the exam you need help, then you put your hand up and you wait for an invigilator to come to you to help you and answer any questions. At the end of the exam, We may find that some exams finish at different times. In that case, you will need to leave the exam hall in silence, so we're not disturbing any students that are still working to finish an exam. And if time allows, it's always good to plan in a review of what you've done. Make sure you've answered every question as fully as you can. You might be able to spot one or two things you think, actually, I'm going to update that, improve that. And that's a good time at the end just to review your work. So in terms of the preparation for the exam, it's really important that you take time to do this. So how do you prepare for the exam? Well, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to provide you more information on this to really try and support you to do that. We want everyone to be successful. But at this stage, I'm going to just say a few things just to help get us off the ground and get you guys starting to do the preparation you need to do. Sometimes preparing for an exam can make us feel a bit nervous. That's completely normal and natural to feel a little bit of nerves. This actually can help us to perform our best. Sometimes, though, we can feel a little bit too nervous, and this doesn't help us to perform our best. So how do we get that right? How do we make sure that we're managing that situation? Well, here's some strategies that I'm going to share with you to help you to do this. The first one is about having a revision schedule. So have a plan, stick to it, know what you're doing, plan your time out. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. And that means you can see that you are preparing in the right way for an exam. Have a goal. Sometimes goals can feel a little bit too big to achieve, and that can make it very hard to get actually started on that journey. So break a goal into smaller steps, more manageable steps, and that will help you to make the progress you need to do. This might sound crazy, but eat and sleep. We have to eat and sleep in order to stay healthy. We have to eat and sleep well in order to perform our best. So having a regular routine and eating healthy meals is going to be absolutely crucial in those two areas so that we can be at our best when it comes to performing exams. Reviewing progress is really good. So you can see how much you've done, what you've achieved. That can make you feel positive about the process. You can see the progress you're making and the improvements that you are seeing along the way. So that's a really good thing, is to build in some regular review time just to see that progress. Including time to be outdoors and time to exercise. We know how powerful this is. We know it's really important for our well-being to exercise and get outdoors, maybe even combine the two. Going for a walk, being with friends out there, getting that balance right is absolutely crucial. Connecting to people, not via social media, but in real life, I've used there. So face-to-face connections, spending time with your family and your friends is also a really good way to help you manage the exam period. And if at the end of all that you actually feel you need more help, then please speak with your form tutor or head of house, because there are other strategies we have as well that we're happy to share with people in order to support them during the preparation for the exams. A really important part of this is if we feel good about what we're doing, then we feel confident. And confidence comes from hard work. There is no two ways about this. There's not a shortcut to this. We have to work hard to feel confident. And if we feel confident, we go into the exams being able to perform at our best. So that hard work is going to lead to success. And that's what we want for every single one of us. We want hard work to lead us to a successful outcome, to perform our best in what's coming up. In terms of revision, what does revision look like? Well, what I've got here for you is a list of some key features of revision. Hopefully you are familiar with these, but if not, we will go over some of these again in the next couple of weeks. But I've also put a QR code there that will take you to a link to a document that explains each of these steps in a bit more detail for you. And these are the best ways to revise, proven scientifically to be the most effective ways to use your time to revise and prepare for an exam. So please take time to have a look at it. I'm going to talk about a few now. And as I said, we will do more work on this over the next couple of weeks to help make sure you're feeling confident. So what kind of things should we be doing? Well, here, this is talking about repetition and spacing. So once you've got your revision timetable in place, we need to build into that this idea of going back over our learning and spacing our learning out. Why is that important? Well, this curve here is the curve of forgetting. Hopefully, you've seen this before. And when we first learn something, we immediately start to forget it. So you can see here, our retention, our storage of that information starts to decline. If we do nothing, then it will continue we will continue to forget until our recall of it drops down to quite a low level. It'd be really hard to try and remember that information. So how can we prevent this? Well, what we can do is we can review our learning here. So at the end of day one, we've forgotten all this information. We're going to review our learning, and that takes our memory of it back up to full. We will still forget, as you can see, but actually, if you notice here, it now takes us longer to forget. So our long-term memory is now working to help us remember this information. If we do nothing, if we leave that, we will continue to forget it. But the power is, if we go back to here, review the learning, we can then take our memory of it up to a high level again. We will still forget, but notice again, it now takes longer. So every time we review the learning, it takes us longer to forget that learning. And you can see what's going to happen over a period of time. We will end up with these gaps getting longer and longer and longer, and that information at that point will then be stored quite firmly in our long-term memory. And that's what we're aiming to do, is for you to get this information into your long-term memory, so it's always going to be there and you can use it. A good example of this that I can give to you is mobile phones. When they were first invented, you didn't have a memory inside them. It didn't store numbers for you to just press somebody's name and dial their number in the way they do now. You had to put the number in. So when the mobile phones first were about, you could remember all the numbers you needed, phone your friends up, phone your family up. It was a really good way to do that. If you ask me now to tell you those numbers, I cannot remember them. It's a long time since I've used them. I don't use them anymore. I press somebody's name in my phone, so I'm not using those numbers. So my memory of that information is declining. If I was using it on a regular basis like I was, then all the time you review it and then you start to remember the numbers. So this is a really powerful, effective way to do this. So this might sound a little bit crazy, but in order for us to learn, we have to leave space to allow us to forget. So this space here is our forgetting time. We go back over our learning, we get it strong, we forget, which is really important, and then we go back over it. When we forget, it makes our minds work a little bit harder to remember the information, and that helps us to remember it even more strongly. So it's really important that to help us to learn, we have to forget. And the repetition, as you can see, repeating, really important again to help us store and recall that information. In terms of interleaving, so let's just explain what this phrase means. Interleaving means mixing up the activities. So mixing up activities means you might do one activity for a little bit and then you go to a different activity for a bit of time and go back to maybe another activity and then go back to the first one, then you might do the third one again. You mix up what you're doing. And we need to do this. Breaking our learning up, interleaving our learning, mixing our learning, makes our minds work stronger, and therefore our memory stores information better. Let me give you some evidence to show this. So here's a couple of bits of graphs. The mixers are the people that mix up their learning, and the blockers who just did a block of learning, just did the same thing for a long time. Now you can see when these two people perform in a practice session, the actual blockers do really well. Doing a long time learning one topic is actually quite a powerful way to learn it. But when it comes to performing in an exam, which might be in a week's time, the people who did the mixed learning do far better. The blockers have forgotten all their information. So mixed learning is a far more powerful way to get long-term information stored in our memory, and we have a better performance because of this. So what does it look like? What should you be doing when you're doing this? Well, you can see here, I've got 4 sessions. I'm breaking my revision into 4 sessions. I'm not going to just do one long session, 4 separate sessions, and each session I'm doing a different subject. So I'm forcing myself to use blocks of time to do different topics. Switching between topics makes our mind work hard. It's going to feel tough. It will feel quite difficult, but it's the best way to do it because it's forcing us to think and improve our memory of learning this. And if I was to do this in my first revision schedule, then what I might do in the second is do history first, then English, then science, and then maths. So you constantly mix it up. So in terms of a day in the week, on a Monday, you might say to yourself, I'm going to do those subjects, but I'm going to set myself 20 minutes of each one with a 5-minute recap before I learn any new material. So at the start of each session, 5 minutes, go over what you did last time, and then get into the new stuff to build up that memory, that retention of that information. And again, it talks about these schedules must have time to eat, time to exercise, time to do the things that make you you. So what would it look like in terms of kind of this process when you're doing it in revision? We can see here, here's a fact, here's some knowledge of information that this student wants to learn. So they're starting with this piece of knowledge. What they're then doing is they're expanding this knowledge so it can have more detail. So this knowledge has led them to write this information out. Then, in order to help them, they've then come up with some examples to illustrate, to show what they're talking about. So here you can see they're talking about V-sided valleys and interlocking spurs and waterfalls and gorges and how all this comes together to create the environment. Here now are some illustrations of that. This is actually called dual coding, and linking pictures and words together really helps our memories to store information. The fact this is a nice, simple, concrete example, we say it's a simple example, also helps our memories to store this information. So starting off with a bit of knowledge, expanding the knowledge, called elaboration, so add the detail to it, and then give examples to illustrate this using diagrams and pictures is a really, really powerful way to make this work. Notice as well, this student has gone on and done something additional. They've then said there are some bits in here that I'm not really sure I've got enough detail for. So these are questions they ask themselves, and what they can then do is go back to their notes and find out the answers to these questions and add the information to this. So this then becomes quite a lot of information kept in a very simple way, taking on a couple of steps to give them a really good set of revision material. Notice this is revision, this is hard work, this is sitting there going through stuff, writing stuff out, drawing information. It's not sitting and reading stuff. Sitting and reading stuff is not going to make your minds work hard enough, and therefore you will not store information. It has to be proactive. It has to be doing this kind of work behind the scenes. So in terms of revision timetable, again, in the next few weeks, we're going to share more of this information with you, and we're going to help you to look at how we construct this. This is what it looks like. This is just to illustrate how I would advise students to develop this. So you can see here, here's my week, and then I've got school allocated to the times in a week. But around this, I'm going to build in some revision schedule alongside eating, exercising, and doing all the things I need to do to stay healthy and get that balance to what I'm doing. So you can see I've got maths here when I come home from school. Then I'm going to make sure I eat, and then there's a program I really want to watch. I'm going to sit and watch TV, and then I'm breaking my revision up into nice little blocks of time, not big long sessions, just little blocks of time. These are half-hour blocks, and I'm leaving gaps in the middle. I'm leaving gaps here because this is going to be me taking a break, maybe grabbing a drink, talking to family, going out in the garden, doing a walk, and then coming back into my revision in order to keep myself healthy. Here, I'm going to go off and do some sports practice as well. So I've not got too many revision sessions here. I'm going to build this into my schedule. So I make sure I go and attend my sports practice. And you can see during the week, we've got all our revision stuff going on. Notice we're breaking it up, we're spacing it out, we're interleaving it. We're not just doing long sessions of science or English. We break these up into little blocks. Still got all the bits I'm going to do. So I'm going to watch a bit of TV, I'm going to walk the dog, I'm going to go for a run, I'm going to go to the cinema to watch a film. I'm still building in all the other things that are going to help me to stay healthy because I need to be healthy in order to perform at my best and be successful. So hopefully that's given you enough information to get you thinking about your exams. As you can see, there's going to be a number of things over the next couple of weeks we're going to do to help add more detail to this and support you with that preparation for your exams so you perform at your best in the summer. And it all comes back to this quote by John Wooden, which clearly I think is a really powerful message for us. The success is about knowing that you've done your best to perform at the best you can in that situation. And we're all capable of doing our best. So good luck with the preparations. Any questions at all, please speak to a member of staff, because we're all here to help and support each other. And we'll keep you updated with the extra bits of information as we go through the next couple of weeks.